We have some interesting information from Compulsion Games with South of Midnight and Xbox and the utilization of AI in gaming. There's been a ton of outrage about AI, and we have a little bit of clarity here coming from Compulsion Games. We also got some information about Clair Expedition 33, Clair Obscur Expedition 33. I always get the name mixed up, but how big Game Pass was for helping this game be successful. Half-Life 3, could it be actually coming out? We've heard rumors. We have some more rumors on it. It would be incredible if this was announced sometime soon and we finally got Half-Life 3. So we have those things plus some other things to go over before we continue. If you enjoy daily gaming news and content, make sure to hit the subscribe, share the video, like it, all that stuff. But for now, let's jump into it. So South of Midnight has been a pretty good success here for Compulsion Games and for Xbox. It isn't a huge, massive blockbuster style of game. It is priced in a lower range. It is a shorter game, but it has already reached over 1 million players with it. So I think Compulsion is pretty happy with that, and I'm sure that will continue to grow as more people discover it and play it, especially on Xbox Game Pass. But Compulsion Games has talked about their role at Xbox Game Studios. What is the point of the studio? Are they there to make big AAA banger blockbusters, or are they there to make smaller style of games? And they talk about it here, and it's what we obviously think and know. It is not a studio there to make the massive blockbusters. This comes via the CEO of Compulsion Games, Guillaume Provost, who talked here with Game Rant on the performance of the game and what's expected of the studios. First of all, he says here, I can confidently say we've had more than 1 million players on South of Midnight since its release. And then he goes on to talk about where he sees the studio's role within Microsoft and within Xbox itself. And he says, it is not to make blockbusters like Call of Duty, but to provide games that add distinctiveness where we can either serve audiences that haven't been served before or create projects that add diversity to the portfolio. And continues here saying, I'm passionate about that being a part of the mission for the studio moving into the future. In terms of what audience, what experiences, and what areas of the world we will represent next, I can't tell you, but I think it's an important role within Xbox for us to be a brand that appeals to people from all walks of life. So there you have it. Compulsion Games is not a surprise. They are looked at as a smaller studio. They make smaller style of games. They are definitely going in a different direction than some of the big AAA blockbusters, appealing to a more niche crowd. You could see that with the story they were going for with South of Midnight. Very interesting environment, story, and stuff from the way that they presented it. And they're going to be going into different directions like that going forward, I think, making these smaller games. And I think that's great because we have so many massive games. We don't need 30, 40, 50, 60-hour games every single time a new one does come out. 10, 15 hours would really hit the spot for a lot of people to be able to play it and then jump on to something else after it and continue playing with the other big games that they do have within their rotation, especially with Game Pass. It is a perfect Game Pass style of game when you have these smaller ones so you can experience more than one thing. That's the thing with Game Pass, is basically a buffet of video games. You're not getting Game Pass to be stuck on one game for an entire year or for half a year or for a few months. You're getting Game Pass because you want to experience the different things that are coming out, indies, the first party stuff, and then also some multiplayer stuff as well. So I think that's perfect for Compulsion Games. Will be interesting to see where they do go next and how they build on South of Midnight, because from all the numbers that we do know right now, it does seem like it was relatively successful. The other thing here that we've seen a lot of outrage about, and I think AI in video games specifically will help gaming and development in many ways. Yes, there will be some negative stuff, like there will be people that are replaced. There will be people that get laid off. I think it will be more of kind of the monotonous tasks within game development that AI can and will be able to do faster, potentially better as well. When you're taking assets and just putting them all around the world, it can make it, there more variety, probably could give more dialogue lines to random NPCs in big open worlds. But AI is always going to be something that has people talking and has people annoyed. And Xbox had come out with their AI solution. They were showing it off with Bleeding Edge, how they were able to recreate players' actions and everything with generative AI, and that caused a lot of outrage. Compulsion Games talks about this and insists here that Microsoft is not forcing generative AI on Xbox developers. Again, this is what Guillaume Provo, the CEO of Compulsion, does say. He says, I can absolutely guarantee, so he's very strong on the stance, that generative AI usage is not mandated. He says, you're talking to the studio that literally built shit by hand. In the DNA of the studio that we have, we're very craft oriented, we're very art oriented. Then he also goes on here to say that it's up to individual developers to decide where generative AI can fit in, specifically saying, I think there are a lot of cases where it could be helpful in pre-production for us to do things like spitting out storyboards for us to see whether it makes sense or not. Not really stuff that we use in production, but stuff that we want to accelerate. And continues and says, just based on the types of games that we make, I would say we are probably not the studio that will use AI the most. And I don't think that bothers anything at Microsoft. The DNA of our studio is to handcraft things and to make them feel handcrafted. And that involves a lot of manual labor. So this all comes back to Muse, which was talked about in February, where Satya Nadella was showing how they're planning on having a catalog of video games utilize the new generative AI mode. And we will see more stuff come out of this. I'm sure it will be utilized. Will it be forced down developers' throats at some point? Maybe that can't be counted out just yet, because what we are seeing right now within the gaming industry is rising development costs, layoffs, closures, and all this is being done without generative AI really being pushed or used in a lot of these games. So at this point, there has to be something to help bring down the development costs and reduce the time to get games out. This may be a solution that in the long run potentially even helps developers continue to make games and maybe reduce the overall layoffs years and years down the road. That's just kind of the positive side. I kind of think about it, but there is going to always be the outrage for people that don't want to see this touched at all, because they do believe it's going to hurt gaming and hurt jobs for developers more than it will be able to help. But only time will tell what this Muse and generative AI is going to do to video games. All right, when it comes to Clair Obscur, the name is long, I always forget. It's a phenomenal game. It's right now, it's up there for me I've played about 20 hours, so it's up there for about a game of the year. I haven't finished it yet, but I'm absolutely loving it. Clair Obscur Expedition 33. It was on Game Pass day one, and people have questioned and asked, how much has that helped the game? And potentially, was it going to cannibalize sales, hurt it, all that stuff? That has not been the case. We've seen this game be extremely successful, even though it did launch into Xbox Game Pass day one. Well, the developers here have commented on this themselves, and they're saying Game Pass actually helped it a lot. They say here, at the Xbox showcase, it was placed next to Gears of War, Fable, and AAA games. It let people understand what Expedition 33 was in a way that we would have struggled to do if we weren't allied with Xbox. I fully can see this. Now, you could just argue and say they're not going to say anything bad simply because the game has done well. They've already signed the deal with Game Pass, but this makes complete sense what they are saying. I don't know how many people would have actually really caught on to this game initially if it wasn't in one of the big showcases like the Xbox showcase. And then with the whole day one on Game Pass got people even more excited, because it is an indie game. It is coming from a smaller studio. Could have been one of those hidden gems and just kind of fallen behind if it didn't have that marketing prowess that Game Pass and Xbox do bring to these studios with these Game Pass deals. So it definitely helped in pushing this game out to more people. It definitely helped with the sales. And the fact that it's such a phenomenal game at the end of the day is what really brought it to the top. But you can see Game Pass deals for very good games like this from third parties help, because it takes off pressure. It helps get the games out there for notoriety and get people to know that it is actually coming out. And then you see the end result here with a game like Clair Obscur Expedition 33. It's obviously not the only reason it's done well, but I think, as they say here, it definitely pushed it well forward. Call of Duty, they are doing something very weird here that I don't think many people will be happy about. It's claimed, it's a rumor at this point, but apparently they are paywalling limited time modes behind its battle pass. And I really hope this is not the case. This would be very annoying because it splits the community and it just makes the overall experience worse. But we have this here. It's a new rumor. And this comes via the Ghost of Hope, who has been right on many rumors before. But they say, according to Hope, the current plan in Call of Duty 2025 is to have more seasonal limited time modes. But instead of them being traditionally free to all players, some will now be locked behind the game's battle pass. And this means that in the essence, some limited time modes will now be paywalled, with players only being able to access them by spending $20 to $30 on the battle pass. Then goes on further to say that higher valued skins and other bits of content could be part of battle pass instead of premium event passes. And they say if this is true, the move is certainly a choice, especially considering we've heard that Call of Duty 2025 is said to be one of Xbox's first $80 games. This would be a terrible move. There will be a lot of people annoyed by this, but the reality is people will still spend the money. It's Call of Duty. And that's why Xbox and that's why Activision would do this. I don't support it whatsoever. We are seeing right now the industry have a huge shift, rising prices, rising costs, all of this. And there's the argument that they don't need to do this because they are making record profits. CEOs and executives are taking in a ton of money. They could not take in as much money and then they could pass that off down and they wouldn't have to, it wouldn't be as crazy in terms of how much money they have to make. But the reality is everything is changing, and Xbox, Activision, all the companies, they are going to try to take advantage of this stuff. And this would be another thing that they do that will piss off a ton of people. And I don't think in the long run for the goodwill, it will be good. The other thing as well is that this putting Call of Duty into Game Pass day one has probably put the accountants and the numbers people behind the boardroom, and they're trying to think about ways that they can offset some of the money that they would be losing by putting stuff into Game Pass day one. So all of this has trickle down effects. When these great value we get from Game Pass hits these games, they're going to try to make money in other ways, but we'll see if this is even true, because of right now, this is just a rumor. All right, next up, we have a massive rumor that has popped up. I've talked about it here on this channel before. A lot of people are still very skeptical because it's just been so long and there's been so much hope that has been lost about this. But there's more leaks coming out suggesting here that Half-Life 3 is coming. And it's not just in development. It is actually now playable end to end, which would mean this thing is closer than people do expect, which is very cool. I really hope this happens. But this comes via Valve insider Tyler McVicker. He says here, who posts eagerly anticipated sequel could be announced as early of summer Q3 with a possible release before the end of 2025, probably winter Q4. In fact, he says this: HLX is being playtested so religiously and so widely that there are individuals who will just talk. I personally have a policy of avoiding any story-related questions or information wherever possible, so I currently have avoided all of them, but I've been offered it by people whom are trustworthy, and I know some of my contemporaries have been given it, so there's information out there about the plot. Then goes on here to say he does tease that he actually thinks Porter's Chell may turn up in Half-Life 3, and Eric Wolpaw wants to do Portal 3 so effing bad. And then says this is the furthest HLX has ever been, period. The game is playable end to end, period. It's never been that far. And they're optimizing, polishing, and they're probably content locked. And if they're not, then they're mechanic locked. And it also says that the procedural generation system is misunderstood by the general public, saying the way Valve is going about that is akin to taking the AI director from Left 4 Dead 2 and making it significantly more powerful. It's not changing geometry, it's instead changing entity placement, right? Like doors, physics, props, enemies, items, NPCs of any kind, and also disputes claims that the story will be procedurally generated. So lots of information there. We will obviously have to wait and see whether any of this is true, but it will be massive. Maybe they're thinking we can somehow get this thing announced now with GTA 6 pushed to 2026, and they could take up that major spot here for the end of this year. All right, Mindseye. Very odd one here. This game looks cool. It's made by people who have made GTA before. They say it's built here by Rocket Boy, a studio founded by the former Rockstar North president Leslie Benzies, and people are dubbing it as a GTA killer, and I don't think that's going to be the case, but we haven't seen pretty much any marketing for this game. It's been really under the radar, and now there's a bunch of gameplay leaking, and this thing is coming out really, really soon. So there's a bunch of gameplay. I'm not going to go over it, but they say the recent Mindseye gameplay leaks surfaced on Reddit where users discuss various aspects of the title, including the lack of marketing that has rendered some unaware of the game's existence. Honestly, this game, I didn't know much about it until I saw a lot of this stuff. It just kind of came out of nowhere, and it looks pretty cool. They showed some driving, they showed some gunplay and everything, and it looks like it would be pretty fun. And it's scheduled to be released on June 10th. So wild there that it's out so soon, and we really have not seen anything. It's coming to PS5, PC, and the Xbox Series platform. Go check it out if you're interested. I mean, all the footage is up there. It's an open world style of game. You're running around just like GTA. You have various weapons and your weapon wheel and stuff. So it does look pretty cool, but it is coming out in June. Haven't heard anything about it. I wonder if they're not confident in this game and they're just trying to hope that it flies under the radar and just releases, and people who are been following it, people who are fans of GTA potentially know about it and they go out and buy it because maybe they're scared that the reviews are going to be bad. It's hard to tell, but it's really weird how this one has pretty much gone unnoticed. And finally, we have a bunch of information here about Assassin's Creed. There's a ton of Assassin's Creeds that Ubisoft is working on that we should be expecting. This is via Insider Gaming, and they're being told here that at Ubisoft, Assassin's Creed strategy for the next 6 years is expected that the franchise will have at least 9 more Assassin's Creed games, 2 RPGs, 3 remakes, 1 smaller experience, 2 multiplayer games, and 1 mobile title, which is a massive amount of Assassin's Creed. But at the same time, not that surprising, because from what we have seen here with the fall of Ubisoft, if you want to say the deal that they made with Tencent and everything, is that they are looking to really double down on the franchises that make them a ton of money and be a far more conservative and far more safe going forward with the stuff that they do put out. Assassin's Creed sells. Assassin's Creed makes a ton of money, even with Shadows, which is a phenomenal game. You had the whole campaigns against it, trying to get it canceled and everything that absolutely failed because the game did very, very good. And they're going to continue to put more of this stuff out in many different genres. You'll see Assassin's Creed expanded out. But 9 games in 6 years seems like they could oversaturate the market, something that Ubisoft has kind of done before. They did it with the yearly release of their big Assassin's Creed RPGs and stuff, where then they kind of took a break from it. They threw in Assassin's Creed Mirage and stuff. So I wonder if that will have the same effect. The difference here is the different genres and styles of Assassin's Creeds that there will be. The RPGs, the strategy, the mobile, all of that stuff. So we will see. But at the same time, I'm a fan of the series and I'm always interested in what is going to be coming out next from it. But that's it for me, guys. I'm going to end the video there. If you did enjoy this video, hit that thumbs up. If you are new here, hit that subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.